So for many in KwaZulu-Natal, when their homes washed away in the recent floods, personal documentation such as IDs, birth certificates, death certificates also went with them. So to find out how exactly Home Affairs is helping these people, we're going to bring in the Minister, Aaron Motsoaledi, now into this conversation. Minister, thank you so much for your time this evening. It's certainly another load on the Department of Home Affairs to deal with now with these devastating floods where we've seen residences lose their livelihoods, and those livelihoods include some crucial documentation such as ID, birth certificate, death certificates and the like. Let's just talk a little bit about the operation that will be conducted by Home Affairs just to address and in response to what has happened in KZN.
Good evening, Faith. Good evening to the listeners and the viewers out there. Yes, indeed, Faith, we have got a very important role to play. Let me start with death certificates. It is not much of a big problem. Faith will be able to issue everybody with a death certificate if the time of the funeral arrives. Actually, I'm saying it's not that bad because we are able to issue death certificates even when systems are down. In fact, that's what we had done last week on the 13th. When systems were down, we were able to issue 81 death certificates that day, and 50 of them were coming from one office, Umgeni. And that is before systems were up. When systems are up, we'll easily issue it. The reason that it's so easy is because the death certificates are handwritten, and after the funeral, when everybody is relaxed, we'll then come and put it on the system in the national population and give them a computerized one. Now, the second thing we're going to do are about people who need documents. These people will be divided into several groups. The first one being those people who have had documents but are lost in the floods. That is very easy, Faith, because those documents are on the National Population Register. All we need to do is to know the name of the person and their date of birth, and we'll be able to go. If they know their ID, it's even better, but if they don't know it, it doesn't matter. We'll be able to go into the National Population Register and find them. Then they will be divided into two parts. If you want an ID immediately, that means you want to go home with it, we'll give you what is called a TIC, temporary identification certificate, here and there. But if you want a real ID, you will be able to apply for it, but it will take between 3 and 5 days before you get that smart card ID. If you want a birth certificate, if it's a child who is less than 30 days old, they will get it here and there. But if it's more than 30 days old upwards, then it's called late registration of birth. It's a procedure that needs a special committee. It will take a bit of time. Basically, that's how we're going to be able to, that's how we're going to issue documents.
Yeah. But also, Minister, on the other side of it is around the accessibility of these individuals that will need these crucial documentations. Unfortunately, in certain areas of KwaZulu-Natal have been severely impacted by the floods. Roads have not been working. There's no access in or out of those specific places, never mind the water and the power issue. But how are you then going to be able to access some of these places, or will you be centralizing yourselves at different spots?
We have got 77 offices, Home Affairs offices in KwaZulu-Natal, Faith. On the 12th of April, all 77 of them were not working, and it was a crisis for us. But on the 13th, 75 came into operation, and they started working. Only 2, the office in Tongat and Chatsworth, were not working. And then on the 14th, all of them, all 77 of them were working. Fortunately, no Home Affairs office is damaged. Those who were not working, it was because the systems were down, or also because of the roads. But where we can, we send mobile units. We have got a total of 14 mobile units in KwaZulu-Natal. We will be able to send mobile units from other provinces if the need arises. But up to so far, the need has not yet arisen. We will know by tomorrow because the Joint Operation Center and the councillors promised us that they will give us the names of the people affected. In other words, we want a list so that we know that this is the person who has lost documents or the family that need a death certificate, or a family that need a birth certificate of a child, so that we target them and see how we can help them. It will be a very serious challenge, obviously, if we've got no road there where our mobiles won't even go. But I'm hoping somehow the Defense Force will help with their helicopters to take our people there to give those documents.
Yeah. And also, Minister, it's also around the issue of those individuals that are still missing. Unfortunately, there have been those that are not accounted for. I know that some people are actually having what we would call a search and recovery mission, trying to get the remains of their loved ones. Are they still able, for those that are still missing, unaccounted for, though the family has accepted that perhaps this individual is no more, are they able to still come to some of these mobile units that are going to be dispersed by Home Affairs to get some kind of a death certificate so that they can continue with arrangements on their side? You know, some of them have got policies and etc. So are they able to still come to you as Home Affairs and obtain some kind of certification even though the person is unaccounted for?
Unfortunately, Faith, that can't happen. We can't issue a death certificate in the absence of a confirmation of death. Home Affairs doesn't really issue a death certificate because families have arrived, look for it. Otherwise, we'll bury many people alive. Home Affairs will only issue a death certificate if there's confirmation of a doctor. In other words, a doctor must confirm, must certify, in other words, a certification of death from a doctor or from any emergency healthcare practitioner. So that's why we'll only issue it if from a hospital we get that confirmation. If the person died at home, we get the confirmation from the person who certified that death. That's the only time we'll produce a death certificate. But secondly, Faith, when we issue a death certificate, we have got to take a fingerprint of the deceased.
Sure.
We have got to keep the fingerprint and know that we have issued a death certificate to the right person. So issuing it without seeing a body is something that is not possible, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I know that you've got your work cut out for you when it comes to this one, because, as I said, some people have been buried under the mud, and especially some of these bodies are inaccessible at this point in time. But before I leave you, Minister, I'd also like you just to put on the Home Affairs hat now, but just moving away slightly from KZN to what's happening in general right now with your efforts of curbing, as well as those that are in the country illegally. We do understand that there was a Zimbabwean international who was arrested in Hillbrow for manufacturing IDs, driver's licenses, bank cards, SASSA cards, and the like. They've got printers, hard drives, and so on. So just in terms of being able to close in the net on those individuals that are criminals, they are criminals in the country. They're manufacturing these documentation. Clearly, they've got resources to manufacture this documentation. How are we faring in being able to close the net on such criminal activity?
You know, Faith, the chap in Hillbrow police station, because he's there. I went on Good Friday, I was at Hillbrow police station to look at this issue. That man, contrary to popular belief, did not defraud Home Affairs. He produces every document that is produced in South Africa. He's producing driver's license. Home Affairs doesn't issue driver's license. He produces serious certificates for security personnel. Home Affairs doesn't issue certificates. He produces bank cards, which are produced by banks. Home Affairs doesn't produce bank cards. He produces SASSA cards. Home Affairs doesn't produce SASSA cards. He even produces some competency certificates from institutions of learning, which are never produced by Home Affairs. Of course, yes, he's also producing ID documents, even smart cards and the green barcoded ID documents, even passports from other countries. Remember, Home Affairs gives only South African passport, but he's in his possession are passports from other countries all over the world. Now, I went there for on Friday. I went with my officials to check, are these things fake or are they fraudulent? Because there's a difference. A fake document is a fake document which he has just manufactured, which doesn't exist. It's like a toy gun. But a fraudulent document is that which exists but obtained wrongly and fraudulently. Now we are going to be checking tomorrow in the National Population Register if those documents are real. Now, I can confirm to you now that a few of them have been confirmed to be there on the National Population Register. Now they are owners who are South Africans will have to tell us what happened. Was this document stopped where South Africans were selling their own identities? Because if that is the case, then it means that guy was not going to produce any document in a way we think. He was just going to duplicate a document of a South African. So we will have answers to that by tomorrow.
All right. We'll leave it there for now. The Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, just giving us some insight in terms of what's been done to assist those that have been affected by the floods in KwaZulu-Natal who've lost those crucial documentation, IDs, death certificates that's going to be needed, as well as birth certificates as well. And then obviously regarding exactly how do we close in the net on those individuals that are manufacturing, illegally so, manufacturing some of these SASSA cards, ID cards and the like. But still ahead for you.